Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Rosen, and I work as the Community Disaster Awareness Assistant with Strathcona Regional District. This is video number 2 in the Emergency Preparedness video series. Let's jump right in. This video is called Step 1, Know Your Hazards. And this is the first step to emergency preparedness that we discussed in the previous video. For those who are just joining us here, or for anyone who needs a refresher, we previously discussed 3 steps to emergency preparedness. Knowing your hazards, step 1, that's what we're talking about here. Building your emergency plan, step 2, and gathering your supplies, step 3. We'll be discussing those in the next videos. I like to start this off by asking 2 questions. Which disasters are common in your community? And which disasters are possible? It's important that we're prepared for disasters that happen frequently, even if they're smaller scale, and those that are less frequent, especially because often they are more significant. This slide shows common or possible local hazards within Strathcona Regional District, and I will freely disclose that this is the scariest slide in all of these videos. So if this is overwhelming to you, don't worry, we're going to go through this together. Starting on the bottom left, we have tsunamis, and I get a lot of questions about tsunamis. Folks wondering if a tsunami is a risk to them where they live. There will be an upcoming video on tsunamis in this series, but for now I'll say that for anyone living on the west coast of Vancouver Island, within Strathcona Regional District or beyond, tsunamis are a much greater risk than for anybody living in waters around the Strait of Georgia, Discovery Islands, or in the mainland inlets. That said, if you live in Campbell River or you spend time in that area, you'll definitely want to check out my video on the Campbell River flood zone, which isn't a tsunami zone, but it's a little similar. So it's important to know about, and please take the time to learn more. Next, we have wind, rain, and thunderstorms. And I often have folks a little confused why I've put this on here because most people don't think of these as natural disasters. And that's actually a good thing because it shows how prepared we are, how much education, confidence, commitment, time we've put into preparing for these kind of situations. So let this be an example of where you might already be more prepared for disasters than you think, and use those same steps, those same preparedness techniques to help you be more prepared for the rest of the disasters that we're going to discuss. In the center of this slide, we have earthquakes. This is definitely most people's biggest fear when it comes to different hazards. Earthquakes are definitely possible in this part of the world, as many of us are aware. I would not say they're common, at least in terms of earthquakes we can feel. Small earthquakes, imperceptible earthquakes, are quite common. For those who are keen to learn more about earthquake preparedness, there's going to be another video in this series that will dive into that a little deeper. Next, we have landslides. Also possible, not really common in Strathcona Regional District, especially not in very inhabited urban areas. Landslides pose the greatest risk in areas where there's lots of erosion or if there's been a fire on a slope where the slope and the soil is destabilized. Next, we have extreme heat. This isn't something that people maybe would commonly consider to be a natural disaster, but with climate change and increasing temperatures, it's definitely becoming more common. So I would recommend putting some thought into how you will plan to be cool and safe during extreme heat events as they become more common in the summer. Lastly, in the slide, bottom right, we have wildfire, which historically I would have described as possible, and with climate change and other factors is now becoming more common. Probably many of us have experienced fire closer to our communities than we are used to, and there will be another video in this series on fire to give you a little bit more information about how to stay safe in those situations. Not included in this graphic, but also important, are flooding. Flooding on a large scale, catastrophic flooding is possible, not super common in Strathcona Regional District, but smaller scale flooding is definitely more common, especially after the big atmospheric rivers that we've had more regularly. Chemical spills, not common, but possible. That could be anything from a marine oil spill to a chlorine release at the pool. Decreased air quality. This is most commonly happening with wildfires and wildfire smoke, which we're all now probably familiarized with. Pandemics are also a possible hazard. We have all experienced that at this point, and I can hope that that does not become more common. And lastly, avalanches. Again, not very common, especially in urban areas, but in the alpine, in the backcountry during the winter, definitely possible. So I'd love to invite you to reflect on the top 3 disaster risks that you and your community face and use these questions that you might still have or these areas of concern to filter the rest of the information that you get in this video series to help you make sure that you're going to be prepared for the disasters that you're facing. Thank you so much for joining me in this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.